Hello everyone, Ryan here. So just listen to Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks' audiobook. Of course, it's also read by Tom Hanks, which is pretty cool. Of course, this is a collection of short stories, and most of them seem to have kind of a running theme of where they're just like these, I guess, pretty much slice of life kind of stories. For the most part, there's really nothing too wild or crazy that happens in them. But they do offer, I guess one could say, interesting glimpses into just ordinary lives. The common, just like an average person, pretty much. Even though there's some of the stories that do have sci-fi elements to them, pretty much still, even those stories are still, it's not, it's nothing too, again, like I said, nothing too wild or crazy. Now, of course, I did find most of them to be well written. And of course, since the audiobook is narrated by Tom Hanks himself, I do feel like for most of the stories, he did a good job narrating them. But also, too, I feel like, for me, my biggest complaint is that it was hard for me to know, like, when each story ended, or, I don't know, well, maybe not that hard, but because for me, it felt like most of the stories just seemed to run together because there wasn't, like, really too much of a pause in between each story. Pretty much, Tom Hanks would just move on to the next story right afterwards, and I don't know, unless that was just because of the way I had the speed set up while I was listening to it, but I don't think that really had much to do with it. But yeah, because like there'd be like one story would end and then start the next story, and then at the same time too, I would get a little bit confused. I don't know. Maybe it could have also been because of the fact that halfway through the audiobook, I started to lose focus, because I don't know. I would say I definitely liked the first half of this audiobook. So I don't know how many short stories that was, I don't know, maybe like the first 5 or 6 short stories. I enjoyed listening to those. But then the rest of it, I don't know, it just felt like, to me, like most of it felt like, I don't want to say it was dragging on, but kind of dragging on, or hey, it could have just been me. Yeah, I will admit, I would say that some of these short stories, I do feel like they would make interesting movies, or at least, if not, interesting short films. Possibly even like a short, like some kind of mini series or something like that. And, as far as like having any kind of favorite story, I don't know. I kind of feel like they all kind of stood out in their own way to me. I mean, with the exception of maybe like 3 or 4 of them. Some of the short stories were actually very short, and I came across some stuff about, like, supposedly Tom Hanks, when he wrote this collection, he wrote them on an actual typewriter. I guess hence the imagery of a typewriter. It shows on the cover there's typewriter keys, and then in several of the stories, typewriters are mentioned, and so I kind of felt like, to me, it seemed like, all of these short stories just had the running theme of not only just being like slice of life kind of tales, but also had this theme of revolving around typewriters, and which is definitely pretty interesting. I mean, I will, another thing I'll admit is, I haven't read anything else. I mean, it's been a while for me since I've read anything else, whether it's been a short story collection or a novel, anything like that actually mentions typewriters on more than one occasion. So, yeah, I guess in a way, I kind of like, the only other thing I would have to say about this audiobook, this short story collection, is that it also, to me, most of them came off to me as though, like, Tom Hanks was, in a way, like, trying to capture some kind of sense of nostalgia that he might have, or maybe that he feels his generation might have, which I want to say, I believe Tom Hanks is technically a part of the baby boomer generation, I want to say. Because I think he's pretty much like around the same age as my parents. So, which, by the way, both of my parents are big Tom Hanks fans, and I mean, and I am too, but I mean, I would say not as much as my parents are. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, again, like, kind of felt like the majority of these short stories might have been Tom Hanks's way of expressing his love for this certain amount of nostalgia, like, that he kind of like hoped to capture and share with others that are part of his generation, or I don't know, I could be completely wrong about that. That's just how I interpreted the entire collection, and so yeah. I mean, I don't know, I guess, overall, as far as rating goes, I would give it I would say 3.5, at the bare minimum, 4 stars at the most. So, yeah, I don't know. I will say, I guess, the audiobook definitely kind of adds a little something extra, not too much, but, because, Tom Hanks has one of those very familiar voices, and so, yeah, it's, if nothing else, I found his, I mean, I definitely liked a lot of the short stories, but even if I didn't, I still would have just liked, listening to Tom Hanks narrate, and because, he's got a, whether we want to admit it or not, he's got an iconic voice, so, I mean, I think so. I don't know. But, yeah, I guess that'll do it for my review of this Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks. And, I didn't want to, like, get into too many details as far as the stories are concerned, but, in general, that's what it is. It's a bunch of slice of life kind of tales, and, Again, some of them have sci-fi elements, but majority of them don't. So, yeah, there you go. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, then I recommend you read this or listen to the audiobook. So, yeah, that'll do it for my review. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, next time, don't forget, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.